everybody, this is Alessandra. Welcome to my home, welcome to my kitchen. Together we're going to be making sweet potato gnocchi. They sound like oh, sweet potato gnocchis, you get them in a fancy restaurant. Guess what? You can make it at home for pennies and everybody loves them and they're just delicious. So I roasted some sweet potatoes. We had some for lunch, just like that, and the rest I'm going to be using to make the gnocchis, and I'll show you the ratio, which is the important part about this recipe, the ratio from the flour and the sweet potato. Nutmeg, 1 egg, and a teaspoon of salt, and that's pretty much for the sweet potato. And then we're going to be making a walnut butter sage sauce, which is delicious. We're about 4 people, so I use about a tablespoon, a little bit more per person. So I have 5 tablespoons of butter. I have about a 1/4 cup of walnuts, sage leaves, so there's about 7, 8 of them, and Parmigiano Reggiano. Let's get started first to get the potatoes ready. The potatoes are completely cool, and they're unlike the regular potatoes where you got to peel them while they're hot. The sweet potatoes peel wonderfully later on. This is a recipe where you don't want to boil the sweet potato because they'll be absorbing a lot of water. That means extra flour, and then instead of getting soft, delicious gnocchi, you have these very hard rocks, and it's really not good. I'm going to go ahead and use a ricer to mash the sweet potatoes, and what I will do is I will measure the pulp of the sweet potato that I have. So let me continue peeling and ricing, and then I'll be right back. That part is done. Let's go ahead and measure the sweet potatoes. Don't press it down. Just let's see. So you have 2 cups here, and I'm going to say another cup, 1.25 cups here. So let's say we have 3.5 cups, okay? So now these 3.5 cups, well, we're not gonna add the flour right away. We'll at once, we're gonna add a little bit at a time. So if you need more, you add it. But if it was too much, you can take it out. Now, I have a little nutmeg. You could also use already in powder, but I find that the flavor is totally different. So get yourself a couple of these nutmeg grated. Grate the nutmeg. I'm gonna say about a pinch. Maybe less than 1/8 of a teaspoon. You don't want too much to overpower the flavor. Let's get a teaspoon of salt in. Now don't forget, we add the other salt later in the water. And let's start. I'm going to I gotta get my hands in here. I was trying to avoid it to the last. What I do is, I always like to mix with one hand and always have a clean hand, just in case you gotta grab a rag, you gotta open the water or something. So it's always good to just mix. Or perfect example, right now adding the flour. So let's go ahead and add the first cup. After the first cup, I'm gonna go ahead and add the egg. If you wanna make vegan gnocchis, sweet potato gnocchis, go ahead and do not add the egg, and that's fine too. I just find that it binds everything better, so I like to do that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead with the 2nd cup of flour. Okay, let's go ahead and add more flour too. Just did another 1/2 cup. Let's sprinkle the work surface with some flour and move the dough onto it. Okay, beautiful. Let's just put it to rest right here. We're going to cut it 4 pieces, just easier. Okay, here's the first piece. Don't forget, you always need to sprinkle some of the flour in order to get it rolled properly. This is too big. Let me go half. Now, you want the base of the table to be sticky because that's what's going to allow you to roll the dough and give it and grasp the dough so you're able to stretch it out like this. A little bit of the flour. This gnocchi roller, but if you don't have this, it's okay. A fork works great too. So let's get the first piece cut. What you do is cut like this. And then a little flour on the board and just roll the gnocchi. And there it goes. Roll. See that? If you don't have that thing, the gnocchi roller on a fork, and you achieve the same design. There it goes. Again, I'll show you a couple more. Roll the board. There it goes, and there's your gnocchi. Now, this is a great time to put a pot of salted water on and bring it to a boil. And believe me, in 15 minutes, we're having dinner. Actually, the cleanup is what takes long, but the making them is really quick. Halfway through, just want to remind you, the dough is incredible. Put in a Ziploc bag, put in a fridge. You could do it tomorrow. Same thing, you could throw it in the freezer, just stick it out, throw it, and then proceed with making the gnocchis. So it's really an amazing dough. You can make ahead of time if you're busy during the holidays, and then the day of, just roll out the gnocchis. The water's about to boil. Let's go ahead and make the walnut sage butter sauce. I'm going to go ahead and break up the walnuts. And let's add them to my saute pan, and we're gonna toast them just for a minute or so. I have the flame on medium. Just let them toast it a little bit. If you see one that's big, just break it up with your cucchiarella. Once you start smelling the aroma from the walnuts, you know that they toasted nicely. Now, one important thing is make the sauce first and then start boiling the gnocchi. Because the gnocchi, once you drop them and they float on top, that means they're ready. You don't even have to drain them in a scola pasta, in a colander. You just use a Vota Pesce, Italian lessons today, which is a skimmer. This is what I do. No need to drain them, okay? So let's add the butter in now. Lower your flame. You don't want it to burn. So I went ahead and I'm lowering it. Now, higher the flame on your water there, okay? Let's go ahead and salt the gnocchi, the gnocchi water. I think that's enough. Oh, it smells so delicious. It almost has something sweet about it, because when you mix butter and nuts, you could be making dessert. Let's go ahead and add the sage leaves. I'm just gonna break them up, and that's it. Keep it on low. You want to get a golden color, but you do not want to burn the butter. And you could do that very easily. The milk component in the butter will burn quickly. Let's get the gnocchis and drop them in the water. A few minutes and they're ready. Let's go ahead and add them here. That's okay if it has a little bit of the water, because that's good starch and it would just add to its creaminess. Higher your flame gently, because now you want the starch from the water and the butter. Look at that. You see, it creates its own creaminess. Take a look at that. See that? Parmigiano Reggiano, una bella spolverata, a nice dusting, and let it melt and create more cream. And let's not forget fresh cracked black pepper. This is very important. Fresh sage. Okay, let me take pictures. Wasn't this just incredibly easy and quick? I mean, gnocchi, salvia and burro, noci, walnuts, sage and butter. Just incredible. Best part of the recipe is when I get to taste it. Again, don't believe me? Make these recipes. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell button. This sweet potato marries well with the sweetness of the butter and the walnuts. Perfect combination together. It marries well together, si sposano bene. Grazie, alla prossima, arrivederci. Ciao ciao. Let's keep cooking together. Thank you so much for subscribing and for watching me.